Horrifying footage shows the moment UPS Flight 2976 en route to Honolulu, Hawaii takes off Tuesday. Its left wing engulfed in flames. Seconds later, the cargo plane comes crashing down, erupting into a massive ball of fire.
This morning, the deadliest plane crash in UPS history. Dramatic images capturing the catastrophic plane crash in Kentucky that killed at least 9 people and injuring almost a dozen.
At this time, we know at least 7 people are dead, 4 of them killed on the ground. Another 11 people are hurt, with 2 of them in critical condition. And that was at last check. We're expecting another press conference sometime this morning to get an update on that. First responders say those numbers, though, will likely go up as the sun comes up and they're able to get into that wreckage.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
These are live aerials from Louisville at the Muhammad Ali International Airport of the massive fire that is happening there right now. Early reports suggest the explosion has seen fire spread nearly a mile. A shelter-in-place is issued with several kilometres that radius around the airport.
A search and rescue mission is underway in Louisville, where a UPS cargo plane crashed right after takeoff. And we are getting some new information, brand new information, from Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who now says at least 16 families have reported loved ones unaccounted for.
The NTSB normally blames pilot error in 75% of crashes. Statistically, by far the majority of crashes are pilot error. But I heard one crash investigator saying this is likely not one of those cases. The pilots in this crash likely couldn't do anything because their plane literally fell apart. The engine literally fell off the plane as it was taking off. In an article written by the BBC, they note it is unclear what caused the plane to crash. But is it really so unclear? Because the engine literally fell off the plane. The pilots had virtually nothing to work with, and so their plane basically wasn't pilotable. That means someone is to blame for this. Someone didn't do their job, and heads are likely to roll. The 34-year-old UPS McDonnell Douglas MD-11F crashed shortly after takeoff from runway 17R at approximately 5:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The fact that it was such an old plane is the first important clue. The second clue is to do with that engine that literally fell off. And I guess looking closer at that engine is going to reveal who is really at fault. According to several sources, The Guardian, WLKY, the BBC and CNN, the MD-11F aircraft made a sharp descent to the left seconds after becoming airborne, impacting the roof of the UPS supply chain warehouse. Then it rolled on its longitudinal axis and impacted with the right wing facing up and the landing gear extended before ploughing through a semi-truck parking area. And that's why that driver was able to capture the footage. He was wanting to park his vehicle as well, probably offload goods he was carrying or load up on goods that had been delivered, perhaps both. Now, all of this is consistent with the aircraft having 3 engines. One, of course, is in the tail, and then suddenly losing one engine on the wing. And so what happens is the aircraft loses lift at a critical point, basically when it needs it most. Flight 2976 was about to make a 4,300-mile flight to Honolulu in Hawaii and managed to reach a top speed of 214 miles per hour. That's 344 kilometers per hour before it suddenly went down. It's something we saw with the Air India crash, which managed to achieve almost a similar speed, 210 miles per hour, that's just 4 miles per hour less, or 330 kilometers per hour, that's 14 kilometers per hour less. Although that was enough for liftoff, that speed has got to be maintained. When it isn't, well, there's nowhere for a plane to go except down. Now, compared to the Air India crash, this was even more dramatic. Why? Because there was an asymmetric loss of power. At least with the Air India crash, I think the pilots had a little bit of leeway to guide the craft to some extent. In this case, not at all. And so what happens is the aircraft has become critically unstable at a moment when it needs to achieve momentum and lift the most. Instead, when it needs this the most, it loses it, and the results are, as you can see, catastrophic. Must say, no one wants to be on a plane like this, where it appears someone forgot to fasten the engine to the wing properly, likely during its last maintenance check. Now, according to sources, the left engine was caught on fire and separated from the wing during the takeoff roll, which was photographed lying on the grass near runway 17R. So it didn't even crash with the engine still intact. The engine literally just fell off the plane. Thus far, we don't know what the pilot said in the final critical moments, but it was likely something like what the truck driver said when the fireball passed unexpectedly right in front of him. And I mean, he must be counting himself lucky to be alive as well. Radio communication with air traffic control, routinely archived, was so full of interference that no meaningful speech could be discerned. The black box might provide additional data, including cockpit voice recordings, but that might take some more time to retrieve. I'm not 100% sure if the fire is out by now. We know a heck of a lot of aviation fuel spilled out, and we know that the depot was ignited as well as an auto scrapyard. Fire engines were clearly spraying fire retardant, a kind of foam, over these buildings trying to limit damage, but certainly when I was watching it, they had not much effect. And one must imagine this was probably a heck of a job for the firefighters to go and respond to. Apparently there were some individuals trapped in these buildings when they caught fire. These structures were doused in 38,000 gallons, that's 144,000 liters of aviation fuel as the plane, bound for Hawaii, disintegrated and ignited. According to Reuters, the Louisville airport, which is home to UPS World Port, it's a global hub for the shipping company's air cargo operations and its largest package handling facility worldwide. It was expected to reopen on Wednesday morning, and I think it did reopen. It's the first UPS cargo plane crash since August 2013, so the first crash in 12 years, when an Airbus aircraft went down on a landing approach that was to the international airport in Birmingham, Alabama, killing both crew.
The flames and smoke could be seen from miles away. A new photo appears to show the plane's debris scattered on the ground, including that which is believed to be one of the plane's engines.
According to the BBC, Terry Tozer, retired airline pilot and aviation safety expert, told BBC Verify that it was almost unheard of, thankfully, for an engine to detach in flight. But he referenced the 1979 American Airlines Flight 191 disaster in which 273 people were killed after the plane's engine detached as it took off at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. So basically, when an engine detaches, your chances of survival are virtually zero. Parts of the engine had been damaged when it was replaced on the plane. So the problem in that particular incident was also a maintenance aspect, and that is what is, I think, intertextual here. I don't know whether parts of the engine were damaged here, whether the protocols, the processes to attach the engine, something went wrong there. But it does seem to be an error happened during the maintenance phase. I would love to know when the last scheduled maintenance was for this craft. Was it, has this craft flown since its last maintenance check? Mr. Tozer said it was too early to say whether a similar fault caused the engine to detach on the M11. Whatever happened here does give one pause. One really does feel that you hope this never happens when you are flying. And again, one hopes that the NTSB are going to get to the bottom of this and make sure it never ever happens again. Well, I'm not going to take it further than that. We will look into this whole question of the previous maintenance, the maintenance record of this aircraft. So look out for further analysis in this particular area. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.